Yeah. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? If you're there. Okay. Pris Priska. Is it Priska? Hello. Yeah, it's another time to teach JavaScript. So if you're just joining me for the first time on this stream, right? Today I just try to teach JavaScript to as many persons as possible. Stanley, good to see you. Simi, good to see you guys. Um, yeah, I was saying in the comment that I think my energy is a little bit low today, but I hope when I start teaching, there'll be energy. There'll be there'll be energy for me to teach. It's been a very very busy week here and there. I mean, performance review at work. What else? Code is not building on the pipeline, different kind of stuff that engineers go through, right? So yeah, but we gotta show up, gotta do what we have to do, right? And it's just been an amazing week as well. As much as I think I'm a little bit tired, but it's been an amazing week. And yeah, I can't wait to just do something else other than work. I work at a startup called Luna.co for those who don't know. And I also work part time as an instructor at Hot School Africa. So those are the things I do for fun right now. And this is the another thing I do for fun, just streaming, just talking to people that I've not seen before about JavaScript. Um, I hope I get to meet you guys in real life anytime soon. I hope to. I hope to. I hope to see a lot of faces that I've had interaction with online. So that being said, right, I'm supposed to talk about some introduction to like JS, like proper. Like my plan, like I said the last time I was on the stream is to I just want to teach JavaScript.info. For as many persons who don't know JavaScript.info, you can just type JavaScript.info on your computer or your phone. You would see like it's a well studied document that really helps people to know JavaScript. So my goal is to try to teach that as much as possible, so that for the persons who don't like to read, you can always find something to fall back onto to watch, and have some things to learn. And today is the major introductory part. So I plan to like talk about like JavaScript as a language, the manuals and specifications, coding editor or code editor, and we are going to be playing with your developer console. So I also plan to show some stuff in JavaScript. I've been having some ideas off the top of my head. I was trying to record some things, but I've not been able to put it and upload it to YouTube. I wanted to talk about JavaScript dates. So I want to talk about JavaScript dates. I feel like dates is another very stubborn, uninteresting area of JavaScript that many developers are really having problem with. So ideas off the top of my head, I'm just thinking about it, but I've not been able to like sit down to really, really write the code, structure out something I want to tell you guys about it. But if you have something you want me to talk about, right, you are free. Just drop it in the comments. I'd love to, right, whatever you want me to do, right, just let me know. And I think tomorrow is going to be the most amazing one, because I think tomorrow I'm going to be talking about like introduction to React, right? Like enough React for you to start writing next year's. And I'm super stoked about that because I've been researching about it all week. So that's going to be like, I'm really, really, really eager and excited to do that. Just enough React that you need to know to know Next.js, because I mean the goal is to teach Next.js on the stream for a period of time, right? And the Next.js is going to be like dope because we're going to be building different things out. So it's not just about teaching it, it's we're going to be just be coding it together, coding different stuff together. So again, I this streaming does not replace like going to official boot camp or going to a particular place, but as much as possible I'm just trying to help as many persons who can maybe not afford all those things or who want more knowledge, right? That's the goal here. So I mean, there's some boot camp I can suggest to you if you're looking for like a full-time place where you want to learn. When you're looking forward to learn, you can always ask me that. And I think yes, that's all about that. I can really get started. So Larry is saying we should talk about date and time. Even me, right? We really, as like somebody who is experienced a little bit, you dread JS time. Time can be very funny. So most of the time you rely on moment.js or we rely on date FNS. How many of you how many persons have heard of moment before? Have you heard of moment? Hmm. Moment or date FNS? Um, that's interesting. Moment, date FNS, those are interesting npm packages that you can check. And I think today as well another package manager was released today. I don't know how many persons have heard about that today. JSR was released today by Deno. So JSR is just equivalent of whatever we have on npm, right? That is going to be owned by Deno. And the major idea is that they have TypeScript as the first support for TypeScript, and they have what is it? They have ESM. How many persons know what ESM means? ESM. That's the official module specification system inside of JavaScript. That's the only thing they're going to be supporting. So they don't support common JS, right? For those who don't know about what modules are, modules is a way to write modular code. That is, write code in different files. That's what they call modular JS. And we can do modular JS with either your common JS. Your common JS is something we also refer to as required JS. Yeah, so JSR was just released today, and I mean it has been for a while, but it was made public. I think it was public beta today, and it has support for TypeScript, support for ESM alone. So it's the only thing you're allowed to do is the standard import that we have in the ECMAScript specification. And today also I plan to look at what ECMAScript is for those who don't know what ECMAScript is, and then we can pick it up from there. Before we get started with the basics of JavaScript, I like to start with like some form of interesting code. I'm going to be sharing my screen. I don't know what exactly it is I want to, but I'm going to be doing something that looks like a function, but it is not a function. Can you see my screen? Let me know if you can see my screen. Just started sharing my screen. I have sample here, and I think I can do something like this. I'm not sure whether it's something like this though. And I can do something like this. I think I can do something like this. Is this like this or like this? Either of the two. How many persons have seen something like this before? Is it the other way around? I think it should be the other way around. Let's see, generators. How many persons have heard of generators in JavaScript? You've heard of generators in JavaScript? Uh, okay, interesting. I wrote about uh, I wrote about generators at some point. I don't know whether they want to give me what I wrote about. But generators are something similar to your functions. Okay, the star goes together with your JavaScript function, and we have something like this. So this is something you call a generator, and look at the way I'm writing code, for God's sake. How many persons have seen something like this? Is my screen legible or visible very well? Can you see my screen? Hmm. So this is a function, but it is a type of function that is called a generator. And in this function, you're seeing this asterisk for the first time, right? And you're seeing something called yield, right? This is a syntax that most persons might not know about if you are in the JavaScript terrain. So how do you call this function? Basically, you call the function just the way you call your normal function. But now, right, you can see that our compiler, which the compiler I'm using right now is Quokka, it knows that this is a generator, right? Because of this asterisk symbol that we have here, it knows that this is a generator. And another interesting thing about it is you can now use the generator in a very interesting way. That is, you can do what it dot dot next. So, and what is going to happen is when you look at this and see what this logs what this logs an object or value, right, which is equals to 1, and it logs done equals to false. Do you know where the 1 is coming from? This 1 is coming from this yield. So it's sort of a function that can like release its member one after the other, right? It can release the member one after the other. So if I had another yield here and I add the yield 2, so when I go for the next value, right? If I go for another next value and I highlight this, you can see that what is yielding the value 2, right? That's what the generator does. And if I yield one more time, what do you think I'm going to have? If I yield the value one more time, what do you think I'm going to have? So you can see that what the value is undefined and we have done to be true, right? Let me try to return another thing here. So you can see that what if I now return 3, it is telling me that, well, now your return value, the last thing is what value 3, and I am done with you. And this is a generator. How many of us have seen this before? You've seen this before in JavaScript, or you have written something like this in JavaScript. So this is what we call a generator, and I mean it's just similar to just what you do with a function, but it allows you to iteratively return something. That is iteratively to yield something, and I mean it's a very beautiful thing in JavaScript for you to be able to just yield something. That is, you're yielding the value, so one after the other. So we use this majorly. I think I'm not sure now whether I can do this, but let me try something. Array from. I'm not sure whether Node support array from sync, though. I'm not sure. I think array from sync is not yet in Node.js. I know. I think. What is array from? I can take this whole thing and see if I can pop it into a browser. Can pop this into a browser. Yeah, and most of the time, yeah, I should be able to display something here. So you should be able to do array dot. Let me ask one from async. Okay, it's from async, not from sync. So what is from async? Array dot from async. Array dot from async um is a way to accept anything that can that can iteratively return something. So basically, if you look at this can resolve my generator and return the two members of my generator, right? It can resolve it and return the two members of my generator. But I'm going to be digging into this later on, right? I'd love to show you more about all of these beautiful features that we sort of have in JavaScript. They are very interesting, very interesting thing that we have in JavaScript going on. So JavaScript is a very beautiful language. I just wanted to show somebody this. I don't know whether you've seen something like this before. This anytime you see something like this, it's called a generator, right? The function, the asterisk is called a generator. This is the name of the generator, and the yield allows you to yield your the value one after the other. So when you call the function, you save it into a variable called it. Then you can do it.next, 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 and it keeps yielding the value. That is, yield means it keeps releasing its value right there. And you can use it with for off loop. You can use it with array.from. You can use it with all these other interesting stuff in your JavaScript. All right. So did you learn something? Did you learn something very fast? I mean, that was like pretty very short. Just what generators, how can we use generators, what are the things that we can do with generators, right? There are a lot of other things you can do with generators deep down, but it was just like an intro to the syntax, an intro to more stuff we can do with functions. So now, for those of us who are joining the call for the first time again, I just want to talk about JavaScript and the manuals, the different editors you can use, working with your developer console. And I mean, whatever anybody who is just seeing JavaScript for the first time, whatever you're just seeing JavaScript for the first time and you plan to learn it and you're confused where to start from, right? This is it, right? This is like the place to start from. So what do you need to know about JavaScript is like the first language inside of your browser, first class language inside of your browser that you can write. And you know it's number one, it started as a language that was used to make your browser much more interactive, right? That's what the goal of that language was. And it has its own history, right? From why it was called JavaScript, right? Different story. Because Java was popular, they intend to like make it have something called Java so that it would also be popular like that. And another thing is that right now inside of your browser, everybody has something that can run JavaScript. Everybody, if you have a browser, right, you're definitely, if you're listening to me or you're streaming what I'm doing right now, you definitely have a browser. So right, you have a engine that can run JavaScript, right? And JavaScript has, advanced in a lot of ways, not only inside the browsers anymore. We have Node.js, which runs on the server side, right? And we have, different JavaScript engines, as we call them. The most popular one is called the V8, right? We have the Spider Monkey. We used to have Shaktura, but Shaktura, I think I don't know, they stopped working on Shaktura. JavaScript engines. I think there are tons of new JavaScript engines around. You have Shaktra, you have JavaScript Core, you have Chromium. Chromium is also viewed from your V8. You have Rhino. I've used a little bit of Rhino before now. We have Duct Tape, we have Spider Monkey, you have Jerry Script. I mean, you have Quick. So all these things are JavaScript engines. And what do we mean by JavaScript engines? It means that like they are tools that are inside of your browser. Read one, good to see you. There are tools inside of your browsers or inside of your servers or inside somewhere that allows you to write JavaScript. They can read and run JavaScript, right? And I think that I don't know if you are familiar with some of the histories around JavaScript. JavaScript wasn't this popular before now, right? A language that was written in 10 days. How many of you know that JavaScript was written in 10 days by the popular guy, Brian? Is it Brian? Brian Erich? I can't even remember his name. JavaScript creator. JavaScript creator. I think it should be Brian Hedge. I can't remember. Yeah, Brian Hedge. Brendan Edge. Okay, so I mean, this guy just wrote JavaScript in 10 days, and the 10 days thing that he wrote became like a problem for all of us that are engineers now, that we are just trying to wrap our head around. This man caused the whole problem. He caused the whole problem. This is the reason why we're on this call, right? And the language he created 10 days, in 10 days now became like one of the most popular language, where you can now create amazing applications. Almost every company, every Fortune 500 company has a form of JavaScript running in their infrastructure. And it's very, very crazy that something that somebody just built within 10 days, right, is able to cause these all kind of like problems right there. And the interesting thing is that it has evolved, or it keeps evolving. Now, there is the saying also that they used to say that you can always bet on JavaScript. You can always bet on JavaScript. I think it was the one who said that statement as well. Yeah, he said it like you can always bet on JavaScript. And ever since he said the statement, a lot of persons, a lot of companies have bet on JavaScript, and JavaScript is still working for them. And I think somebody like me now, all my career is built around JavaScript. Like literally, the reason why I have a career is because there's JavaScript. Trust me, if there is no JavaScript, I'm not sure I have a career. I mean, it's a very crazy word that if this guy did not create this thing, I mean, I probably would be in my country, maybe in a farm somewhere, or in a classroom teaching mathematics somewhere, right? But because this guy worked on whatever he worked on, and now I'm able to have a career, and not just able to have a career, I'm able to I'm able to build things. I think I was thinking about it today, like when I was in the shower. I was thinking about I wanted to build something that can use SQLite in as a database. How many of us know SQLite? SQLite is a form of database that you can embed into your application easily. You don't have to set up the whole MySQL and all these other things. And I mean, with JavaScript and Node.js, I could really do something with SQLite easily. Something that can communicate to my database easily with no stress. And that way you can really build something. I'm just thinking about it, really, as JavaScript engineers, we have come like a very, very long way. Like what you can do is crazy. I usually tell some of my friends and students that you can never don't just write off JavaScript, because JavaScript is crazy. What it can do, if you know how to really get it to do things for you, what JavaScript can do is a whole lot. JavaScript can do a whole lot, right? If you're able to really, really, really use it. And if you want to know, right, if you want to understand JavaScript as in its capacity, in its power, right, you can always bet that anytime you listen to me teach, or you come on live on any of this stream, I will be one way trying to explain to you what JavaScript can do, because that's the goal, right? The more we learn about JavaScript, the more we understand what it can do. And the more we understand what it can do, the better it is for our career, the better it is for every areas of our lives, right? Eventually you probably get a job, right? Eventually you get to go on to do big things and amazing things with your life. So how does this engine works, right? The engines are what inside of your browser, so they allow you to what anything you write, and the engines can process them. So that's majorly what happens. So what it says is here, it then converts or compile whatever script into machine code, so that your browser, your Node.js, your whatever engine can process them. And our computer understands machine code. How many of us know that's the basic computer science stuff, right? Basic computer science stuff, like your computers can only process something we call machine code. I mean, pretty much the way they call it, like zeros and ones. but it is beyond zeros and ones, anyways, right? But your JavaScript engine takes in whatever JavaScript you have written, it converts it right into a form of machine code or something we call byte code. You can also call it byte code. It's transpiled down into something we call byte code. And the byte code is converted into like a machine code that your computer can understand, because our computer only understands this machine code right there. So, what can you do in browser with your JavaScript? Okay, basically JavaScript has a lot of APIs, so it allows us to do a lot of things, right? You can do things like you can know like your current location with your JavaScript. You can do some you can know the operating system the browser is running on, right? You can know some little detail about like whatever is going on in that on that computer. I mean, you can the moment you understand JavaScript web APIs, if you look at the web APIs, web APIs, MDN. So the web APIs tells you like all the things possible, right? From full screen, you have like the full screen APIs, not this one in particular. Uh there's one that has the list of all the APIs. I can't really track that. I think it should be this one, or is that this or the next one? It tracks the list of all the APIs. You have full screen API, you have Bluetooth APIs, you have different APIs that you can connect to right here. Look at this place here. You have your audio output API, right? Experimental. You have your background fetch API. You have the badge API. You have barcode detection API. You have the Bluetooth API. You have your battery API. With your JavaScript, you have the broadcast channel API. And when you come to like you have the console API, which you know what the console API is now, right? Console.log, console.time, console.group. Those are what you have. Then you have your contact picker. That is, you can eventually, it is still experimental, right? That is, you can open up your contacts with JavaScript, even on a phone, and pick all the contacts right there. You have clipboard. How many of us know the clipboard API? The clipboard API allows you to copy and paste something, right? And different APIs like device orientation. So device orientation is you can know when the person's device is on landscape mode. You can know when the person device is on different modes right there. You have we also have like the device memory API. You have this edit context API. I was looking at this edit context API yesterday. I mean, it's a beautiful API that I was just implemented into your JavaScript. You have what's it called now? You have fetch API just to make API calls, right? You have file APIs, so you can really go through the files you have on your computer, right? With your JavaScript, and nobody really know that, right? Because is all these APIs are there in your JavaScript for you to just use. You can just do them and it works. You have full screen APIs, right? If you're playing a video, you can enable a shortcut that people can click on to go to full screen. That's JavaScript. Like the things you can do with JavaScript is a lot. It's just amazing stuff, like crazy things. Yeah? So you have gamepad API as well. You have your geolocation API. You have your geometry interface API. You have Houdini. Houdini is something in CSS coming up. You have your drag and drop APIs. You have your history API. You have your idle detection API. So you can detect if somebody is idle on the particular web page you have with your JavaScript. You have the ink API for people who are painting. You have the image capture. You have the device capabilities. You have intersection observer. That is, as you're scrolling, once you scroll to a particular point, you can intersect. Okay, I've just scrolled to this point, then you can carry out a particular API call. You have your keyboard API, you have your index DB API, Then you have all the media capabilities, you have the media session, the media streaming capabilities, right? Media capture and streams. I can keep talking about all these things. And for instance, all these things are working in your browser, right? The ones that are experimental, they will tell you which browser, right? It is the browser that supports them, which browser does not support them. So you have your navigation API to navigate pages with your JavaScript. You have page visibility, you have payment, permissions, performance, pointer event, then the presentation. Like, this is a very new API as well. The popover API allows you to do some popovers, some popovers without you writing too much of JavaScript. It's a lot. You have all these playback, resize observer. Resize observer is like when somebody resize a particular screen, you want JavaScript to tell you what was resized, what's the new size, right? Which are the elements, and you can apply CSS based on the resizing that just happened. And definitely you have what your SVG, right? Scalable vector graphics. You have your sensor APIs, you have storage, screen capture. The screen capture is the reason why you can see what I'm sharing, right? Screen share. That's what your screen capture API is doing, right? You have server sent event, storage API, screen orientation. You can also get your screen orientation. And there's something we call service workers. We have the streams as well. Screen wake. So screen wake, like if your screen was like blank before, and they tapped the screen and it came back to life, you have a JavaScript API that you can use to do something programmatically right there. And we have the selection API, topics, touch events, UI pattern. This is also experimental. UI API. You have vibration, so you can, when somebody carry out a particular action, you can vibrate, right? You can vibrate your phones. The laptop cannot vibrate because some laptop doesn't have support for vibration, but with a phone, right, you can tap into the vibrating API, allows you to vibrate. And you have virtual keyboard. Virtual keyboard is another very new API I was checking it yesterday. I mean, these are very, very interesting things, and this is new. This view transition allows us to do transitions, animations in your JavaScript. Very new, and it is just amazing. Web animations is getting better. You can do something like web share. You can do WebSocket. I think WebSocket allows you to do like real time sharing of data between different users, right? Web audio, web speech, web transport, web authentication. There is this new authentication that is coming in. I don't know if you know about it. The passkey. There's a passkey authentication that is going on right now. We have the web USB. So you can use USB inside of your JavaScript as well. Come on. We have the web components, web workers, web crypto, right? This is the web VVT for subtitles and all these other things. Like, there is a lot that your JavaScript can do. And the thing is, we only use very little API. Many of us on the call, we only do maybe document or query selector, and you just go away like that. You don't go ahead to really explore and go deep into JavaScript this much. But I'm telling you that with the knowledge of JavaScript that you have, you can build a lot of amazing softwares, a lot of amazing projects that can help make the world a better place. If only you know, right, that some APIs are available for you to use. So what brought me here is to tell you that there are different capabilities that we have that you can do inside of the browser with our JavaScript. Different capabilities. You can build different things from animations to Bluetooth to USB to printing. You can automatically do many of these things with JavaScript easily without any stress. And the thing there is that all these APIs are there, right? You can read the specification, it will tell you how to use the syntax, right? You have everything inside this place. It will tell you what you need to do to get started. For example, if you want to use your socket for anything in real time, there is a guideline on how to write it, how to use it. And you also have this, all these, WebSocket, socket.io, all these interfaces that allows you to do WebSocket easily. So, man, for me, I mean, I'm just always excited about JavaScript because, I mean, What? So the question is, what can't I do with JavaScript? That's like the question you should be thinking about. Is there something I cannot do with JavaScript? I don't think so. Right now, even if you cannot do something with JavaScript code, we can do WebAssembly, right? How many of us know WebAssembly? WebAssembly allows us to bring in language from your Rust, from C++, from Java, from C Sharp, any language, just bring it into the JavaScript and it will run, it will do its own thing right there. And that's like the most crazy thing right there, which is like, okay, if JavaScript does not provide an API to do something, yes, we have WebAssembly that allows us to do this as well. And that is the peak of the most powerful thing that you can always do as JavaScript engineers, that you still have the ability to use something we call WebAssembly, and we only get stuck with, index.html, the DOM, right? We only get stuck with modifying styles, modifying HTML. That's the only thing we get to almost do all the days of our lives as JavaScript engineer. But I'm telling you today, right, as many of you on the call right here, don't just limit what you can do with your JS knowledge. Don't ever limit it, because with JavaScript, you have a crazy capability, right? You have like the ability to build a lot of interesting features, that you can do web payment even easily, non-contact payment with your JavaScript, like it is just there. So you don't want to stop at doing web page manipulation, users clicking on events, and web servers. No, you don't want to do that alone. Because inside of the browser, we can always do web page manipulation, right? We can always do interaction with, like, when a user click on something, that is your interaction, right? When a user click on something, change this one, submit this form, right? Those are interactions. But I'm telling you that even with your Node.js now supports ability to what? To read and write to file, right? You can create a web server easily with your Node.js, right? These are interesting things that we can always do. So these are a list of different things that you can always do right there. And we have local storage. How many of us know what local storage does? How many persons know what local storage does? Local storage allows you to store something inside of a browser, so you can store some little information inside of a browser. And I don't know. There's some discussions around IndexedDB. There's also IndexedDB, but I think there's some discussions around IndexedDB that they are scrapping it. But I can't really say now because I know I saw it somewhere right there. So, man, if you're here on the call again and you look down on the JS skill that you have, trust me, you have lots of amazing capacity right in there. So, right now, this portion is telling us what can't in browser JavaScript do right there. So it is limited in some, JavaScript may not read or write arbitrary files, so JavaScript will copy them, right? Because this runs inside of your, OS. It's the operating system that does the read and writing, right? And that's why if you want to do proper read and writing, you do it with what? Node.js, which is a form of JavaScript as well, right? And modern browsers allow you to work with file, but what you can do with files are what? They're limited. So you can upload files, you can drag and drop files right there. So there are ways to interact with what? You can see this now, interact with cameras, microphones, and all these other devices right there. And I mean, you know what NASA is doing. NSA, right? Space agency, the US space agency, what they are doing with JavaScript and all the stuff that they are doing, you know, different, amazing things that they are doing with JavaScript right there. And I mean, the fact that you can even listen to me again, I keep saying this, the fact that you can listen to me on this call today is part of like the power of JavaScript. So trust me, you can really do a lot, a lot. If there is something you cannot do, like I say again, there is WebAssembly to help us to do it. We just need to figure it out how to do it in another language, and then we need to bring it into your JS with what? WebAssembly. All right. So what makes JavaScript so unique right there? It is the only programming language that has full integration with HTML and CSS, right? Simple things can done simply, and all browser support right there. So JavaScript over languages over JavaScript. I don't think how many of us know CoffeeScript? Is there anybody on this call that knows CoffeeScript? I doubt it. I don't think any one of you will be very OG enough to know what CoffeeScript is. I mean, I didn't also meet a lot of CoffeeScript as well. I'm not sure. But I know that I met the latter part of CoffeeScript, and it was I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. CoffeeScript was what we have now majorly is TypeScript. TypeScript is the only thing that we have now. How many of us don't like TypeScript? If you're on the call, you can signify if you don't like TypeScript or you are scared of TypeScript. So TypeScript is like the big word now. If you want to get employed in the tech space, you must know TypeScript. And people are always fighting. Should I know TypeScript? Should I not know TypeScript? Okay. I think for me, I know it and I try to learn it because it's now important for you to get job anyways if you want to get any job in the tech space. So that's why you want to. So another interesting one is that we have that and Kotlin, right? They are mobile applications related. So when you look at this, right, the intention of JavaScript was created to just build something in the browser. But I think now that intention is no longer it's no longer like enough for JavaScript because JavaScript is dominating in different areas now, right? You have JavaScript on the server when you're looking at Deno and you're looking at Nodejs, right, which allows you to do anything PHP, anything C#, anything Java can do. We can always do them in Deno and in Node.js as well. Then you can create your CLI applications easily. How many of us know what CLI applications means as well? The CLI applications easily. You can also do your CLI applications. That is for your command line applications, applications that you run in your terminal. You can always create them as well with your JavaScript knowledge. And the much more important one is that the ability to create your DOM, to interact with your DOM, right? To interact with your styles, right, to create elements, to submit forms, to respond to click, it is still going to be done with your JavaScript. So this is the reason why I tell people that JavaScript is not leaving anytime soon, right? JavaScript is not leaving the community of web in anytime soon, and there is no way you can take out the web from the success of the internet age, right? Every one of us rely on the web. We rely on, for this streaming that we are doing today, right? We rely on the web, right, to be able to reach out to more persons. So that is what you have with your JS there. So, and this is another very interesting part, that many languages that get transferred into JavaScript provide certain features. So it is recommended to take a look at them at least briefly after mastering JavaScript. So for example, where you have your TypeScript, right, is important that you should take a look at it and know what your TS does. So the second thing I'm going to be talking about today is something you call the manuals and the specifications. I think I described this earlier on the particular stream. I don't know whether it was last week, where I talked about that if you really want to know more about JavaScript, right, and you want to go to the source, the major source of information is something we call the ECMAScript 262 specification. Now, somebody is asking, I just want to learn this language and you're mentioning ECMAScript. I don't really know, but if you really want to go far, right, and you're sure you want to really go far, you definitely want to take a look at this document, because that is the major thing. So because everything that happens in JS is inside this document. Everything that happens and everything that will happen is inside of this document. Should I say that again so that many persons will hear it? Anything that will happen and anything that might happen in JavaScript, it is inside of this document called ECMAScript. So why do they have the name to be ECMAScript? I think they couldn't get the what's it called? They couldn't get the name to be JavaScript, and I think they eventually settled with the ECMAScript. So that's why they call the major body that regulates JavaScript. It's called the ECMA, and that group is called TC29. TC29, is it TC39, right? They are the group that monitors JavaScript, improves it, and make sure that everything looks good. So as a application developer, somebody who is going to just be learning code, just learning how to write code, should I bother too much about this document? I think for the first few years of your life, you might not really bother about this document. But if you want to really go far in your career and you want to have like a stellar career in JavaScript, you want to come and look at this document. You really want to. That is, you want to develop enough skill to be able to understand this document. It's going to take you a lot of time, right? It's going to take you a lot of time, right? And I'm also going to be showing you some tips on how to understand whatever is inside of this document. Because again, if you want to go far, you need to know what is inside of this book, this document. It is the standard, it is the specification. And if you want to go into like, if you want to not just build applications, you want to do like be a library developer, you want to contribute to language, you want to be on go on and do crazy things in JavaScript internationally, then you want to know what this document is really all about. If you want to know the latest thing that is coming into JavaScript as well, it is inside of this document as well. The standards, the procedures, right? It is covered by the TC39 group. They are the group that monitors everything that happens about JavaScript, all the latest thing, like the array dot from async that I used. This is the team that is in charge of the standards and the proposals and everything that happens, right? Yeah. So again, that is the specification. The specification is released every year. Between this release, the latest specification draft is always here. So if you want to read about it, you can go there. Now, if you want to go and read about the manuals, I recommend you to always there's always a tab of MDN open somewhere on my computer every day. Every day. MDN is the number one place, right? And if you really want to know, if you want to really, really, really go far again there, you want to check your manuals right there. And another thing is you want to also know if a particular feature is compatible. We have the you have the can I use, right? We have the compat table, and I think we have the interop. That's a new organization of all the browsers coming together to form one group. So those groups tells us what is compatible with which browser and whatnot. So the major thing about the specifications and the manual is that find a time to really find a way to just scan through your ECMAScript 262 and find a time to also check what TC39 is doing, right? What do they have on their page? TC39, what are they doing right there? So this is the document right here. You have it's a large document, right? It describes everything that is happening. It describes the syntax, it describes the lexical grammars, the expressions, the statements, the functions, the classes, the scripts and modules, how they should be. It describes the global object, describe how fundamental objects should work. For numbers and dates, it describes how they should work. It describes text processing, indexed collection, like your arrays, your maps, your sets, right? Processing of text, it does all of those things. And you also have reflection is a way to work with objects, different things that your ECMA, what your language specify for us to really, really use. So it's a big document that it is very, very complex, right? But that's the reason why I'm doing this stream anyways, to take away the complexity, right? Is to take away the complexity from you so that I would read the document and then I will just explain to you what is happening behind the scene. So that's what some of the things I intend to do with this here. So back to JS right here. What to start writing JavaScript, what do we need to know about? right? If you want to start writing JavaScript, there are two ways I recommend you to start writing JavaScript. You can start writing JavaScript in a particular editor, popularly known as what, VS Code, Visual Studio Code, right? That is, Visual Studio Code is a lightweight version of the Visual Studio itself. You can go to your Google search for Visual Studio Code and download it, right? Once you download it, right, it gives you an editing interface like this that allows us to, to type anything. So, I mean, the starting place in any JavaScript is to declare variable. When you declare variable in JavaScript, we declare variable with three major keywords. So you can define a variable to be what? With the let keyword, right? We can declare a constant to be what? Pi equals to what? 3.14, right? Or you can declare something with what? The var to be equals to what? B equals to what? 2. So these are ways to declare variables, and these are the starting points. So what do we mean by this what? By this syntax here? Now, let me break this syntax down that you're looking at here. Let me break the first one down. So the first one, what you're saying is what? Let what? A. That's the first thing. That is, you're declaring A as a variable. I said earlier on the stream that what A stands for, the let and A, what it stands for is you're saying, well, I want to put something into a box and I want that thing to become what? A storage, somewhere where I can always be putting values, where I can store something. So when you say let, you're declaring that I want to be the owner of A. I am the one writing this code and I want to be the owner of what? A. Now, you can go further and say, well, inside of A, I now want to store 1 inside of A. And that is what is happening here. So these two lines is just what? This is the one line that is the like the full thing that is happening. But this is the breakdown. So here you're declaring, right? You are declaring. And in the next one, you are what? You are defining. Is that English clear to anybody? You are declaring, right? And in the second line, you are what? Defining. Defining means what? You are assigning a value. You are giving something value. So in this phase of the declaration, your A, if I ask for the value of my A, you can see what happens here. The compiler is smart enough to know that our A is freaking undefined. That is, you just declared it. You just told your computer, well, I am the owner of A. I want to use A in my program that I'm writing. So please, nobody can use A. Nobody's allowed to use A anymore here because I am declaring A as something I want to use. The way your parent declared you, when your parent gave birth to you, our parent declared us and they gave us a name. Is that correct? Does anybody agree with what I just said? That is, when our parents gave birth to us, they declared you. And they said, well, this person is going to be my son or my daughter, and this is going to be their name. And so when they fully gave birth to you, they assigned you a value and said, well, this person is a member of our family, and we assign them a particular name. And they will always be called this name in this family. And maybe they are the firstborn, or they are the secondborn, or they are the thirdborn. And nobody can take your place. Literally, nobody can take your place. Right? And that is what happens in variable declaration. You declare something, right? You declare and say, well, we are expecting a new baby. That's the declaration. And well, the baby is going to be a boy, and the name of the baby is going to be what? Maybe John. The baby is going to be what? Scott. The baby is going to be whatever name they declared you to be. And that is what happens with variable declaration. So the moment they declared you as a variable, now you are a valid member of that family, right? And that's the reason why you can carry out things, responsibility as a valid member of that family. I don't know whether that illustration is clear for anybody who is just coming across learning variable declaration for the first time. What happens again is you're storing a value and say, well, I am the owner of this value. So the first phase of your variable declaration is what? A declaring that this is the name of the variable. And now, this is the value I want to put here. So the beautiful thing about JavaScript is you can either put a numeric value or you can put what? A string value, right? The language supports you to put what? A string value right there. It supports you to put either a string or to put whatever kind of variable you want to use. So it allows you to do numbers, allows you to do strings, allows you to do what else? Allows you to do boolean. What else are we able to do? Boolean is your true or false, right? You can declare something to be what? You can say, well, this is true, or you can say this is what? False, right there. So that is what your variable declaration. And I think another interesting thing is we have another form of number declaration called 10n. So when you declare something to be 10n, right, what does this stand for? There is a type of number in JavaScript that we call what? Big int console.log, and you can do what? The type of. So if you do the type of A, you can see that it's telling you that, well, this is a big integer. It is expected anything that ends with n is expected to be what? A big integer. And I think you can also put underscore, or you can put your comma. I think so. I think you can do your underscore for your normal formatting of your numbers right there. So this is a variable declaration, and this is numbers. You can declare your numbers, right? We can declare what? You can declare numbers. So under numbers, you have whether you have your what do we call it now? We have integers, floating point, right? Floating point. Or we have your big int, your big integer. You have your big int. Those are things that are possible, right? We can then do strings. We can do booleans or booleans. You can do which other ones can we do, right? Then we can do our undefined. You can declare something to be undefined, and you can declare something to be what? Null, eventually, that is to be nothing. So these are very interesting ways to just declare what variable. And most of the time, variable declaration is the starting point in any code that we write. Variable declaration is the starting point of any code that we write. So after you declare a variable, you can always check the type of that variable. So right here, we are checking the type. That is, we declare this variable, but what is the type of what? This variable. And if I were to declare this in TypeScript, right? If I were to describe something like this in TypeScript, I probably would just do something like this. We can say that let b, right, colon b colon number equals to 1. So what this colon is saying is that I am declaring this to be of type number. And this is what your TypeScript does. That is, in TypeScript, there is the type declaration. As much as you're declaring the variable, you're also declaring the type that you want that thing to be. And another beautiful thing in your TypeScript is you have something we call type inference. That is, your TypeScript is sometimes smart enough to know the type of variable that you are working with, that you declared something to be, which is what your type can infer. That is, it can try to sniff and say and smell that thing and say, well, this variable looks like a number, or this variable looks like a string, this variable looks like a boolean, right? And that's something in your TypeScript that we refer to as type inference. So again, this is the basics. This is where we start from, right? You're able to declare a particular variable and store a value inside of that variable. So if you're practically new to this and hearing this for the first time, this is the starting point of any JS code. We can declare variable using 3 approach. We can use the let keyword as the first thing, followed by the name of the variable. So now I used a single letter here. So I can always say the variable's name, or I can call it anything. Right, just call it anything, but just know that whatever you're calling it, that is the value that you're going to be using in your code, right? Whatever name you call. So now I used a, so it means that whatever I'm going to be doing is going to be with a all round right there. So let me show you another. I have a material that can help you to know more about, I think I need another browser tab. This is freezing up on me. I need another browser tab. I'm coming. Let me just bring up a new browser. I need a browser tab. So if you want to know more about, if you want to know more about how to set up your, if you want to know more about how to set up your your VS Code, right? Your, I mean, VS Code is not the only IDE that we can use, right? You can use something we call, there's this new IDE. I can't remember the name of the new IDE that is around, but the major two popular ones are Sublime, VS Code, Sublime. You have Sublime. We have Sublime Text, right? Some developers like to use Sublime, and we have, apart from Sublime, we have Atom used to be one before. Yeah, Atom IDE. Atom used to be another IDE before, but I think they stopped working on that IDE. Atom has a new replacement, though I can't remember the name of that replacement now. Atom replacement, Atom ID replacement. So I think there's a new company now. I can't remember the name of the company. I want to really remember that name of the company. I wish. Where's Perplexity API? Perplexity AI. This is another AI that I found out recently. I think we can use this to find out. The new guys who create what is the name of the new project the Atom creators are working on. I think there's a new project they're working on. Z. The name of the new IDE they're working on is Z. So it's a new IDE they call Z. I don't know. I've not used it before now, but I think the set is very fast. How many persons have seen this for the first time? You're seeing this for the first time. Z. So Z is telling us that whatever VS Code can do in 97 milliseconds, Z can do it in 58 milliseconds. Right. And that's a good way to sell things now in this generation. You sell things with data. So I can always drop the link in a comment for anybody who is interested, right? If you're interested to know about uh, whatever Z is all about. So yeah, so Z is another beautiful ID right there. I think the major thing that they are selling is this, the intelligence, the very crazy intelligence that they have, which is very, very very, very but again, the guys that created Atom are the engineers behind it. So if you know Atom and you know that Atom has like a very very powerful, very powerful thing there. And the idea is, it has multi-thread support and all these other fuzzy searching and all these interesting new things that you have right there. So if you want to take a look at it, you can take a look at it and let me know what you think about Z. So that is that. My browser has freezed up and I don't know why. Chrome is freezing on me. Browser has freezed up. So on the IDE side of things, right? We have JetBrains. I think JetBrains is another very good theme as well. JetBrains, JetBrains have IntelliJ. They are just like a company that has a list of different browsers that you can use. JetBrains have like a list of browsers that you can use, different IDs there that they can use. So the IntelliJ, PyCharm, whatever ID you want to use. And I think they have one for JavaScript. I think so. They have one for JavaScript. WebStorm. Yeah, I think the one they have for JavaScript is called the WebStorm, right? The WebStorm allows you to build JavaScript and TypeScript related stuff right there. But the thing with WebStorm is that I think WebStorm is paid, right? It's paid for, and then that's the only. If you are not able to maybe financially, support this now and pay for this now, but VS Code is what I recommend for all of us, as many persons as possible. VS Code is simple, it's easy. So if you want a video on how to set up VS Code for anybody who is just learning VS Code, right there, I have a video on my YouTube channel that can help you to set up your VS Code majorly. Set up VS Code, set up Node.js, set up all the basic tooling that you need to get it running into the JavaScript. Into the JavaScript. I think we can do YouTube VS Code setup so you can always have access to that. Search. Uh I think I have one video around that. I don't think. Yeah, you can always search YouTube. Basically, I think I have a video that you can use too, and not just even my own video. You can use other person's video on YouTube to just set up how to get started with your VS Code easily, right? But getting the terminal set up and all these things set up, basically something you want to you want to really learn very fast, I think. So that is that with the ID. And the last thing I want to talk about before I wrap everything up today is I want to talk about developer console. What is developer console, right? And how do we see the output of the JavaScript that we write? How do you see the output of the JavaScript that we write? So for me, I think, let's see. Do I have my VS Code? Do I have my YouTube account here? Yeah, so I have this here that shows you a video that shows you how to set up VS Code easily. So if you want, you can always go and access it there. It shows you basically how to set up Git, set up VS Code, set up your terminal, set up all the parts. Just set up everything you need, right, to be able to write JavaScript. So right there. And the next thing I'm going to be talking about, which is like the last thing I'm going to be talking about, is we have browsers. And I've said that you can write your JavaScript either on using Node.js or use browser. So inside of your browser, there's something when you right click on your browser and you click on inspect, you have access to some area we call the developer console. Now, the developer console tells us about, it's a portion in your browser where you can write JavaScript, or it's a portion where you can script JavaScript. So right here, I can always do what? 2 plus 2, right? It allows me to write JavaScript here. You can do console. You can see the console API, right? You can see all the things inside of the console, right? You can see console.warn, console.time, right? Console.profile, console.group, console.error, console.dir, right? You're able to see all of that. And I think you're also able to copy. It has some nice built-in capacity where you can copy something. So I just copied the result of 2 plus 4. If I paste it back there, I'm able to paste whatever I copied down back. So it has some nice built-in built-in capabilities that you can have. So this is your developer console. You can monitor. I think you can monitor a particular event, right? You can monitor a particular event that is happening. So you can monitor a click event. So anytime a click event happens, right, it will tell you that I'm monitoring all the click events here. So your console is very, very powerful. Your console is very powerful. It stores the operations that you do. So $1 is the last operation that I did here. So it will always keep track of what the operations that you do with this $0, $1, $2, and $3. And it also has dollar does like your document. When we go to JavaScript on the web, your dollar does something we call your document.query selector. That's what your dollar does right there. So your console here is the place where we are going to be writing JavaScript. I talked a little bit about declaring a variable today. So now you see that I have access to the variable called A. I can do type of what A to tell me the type of A right there. I can do var b equals to 2, right? I can do const pi equals to what? 22 divided by 7. So all these are what you can see me write JavaScript easily inside of the developer console. So the developer console is like the first place where you can write your JavaScript easily. And then if we go into our VS Code, we also have the capability to write VS Code, to write your JavaScript here inside your VS Code. Right now, I am running the VS Code with something we call Coca.js. So if you're just hearing this for the first time, I've talked about this before on my call, that you can install Quokka as an extension. VS Code support Quokka installations, multiple extensions that you can install. And when you install it, it gives you the ability to write and run your code in this beautiful manner right here. So basically, that is all that I wanted to talk about in a first introduction to pure JavaScript. Again, this was an introductory call showing you JavaScript, right? Introductory call showing you JavaScript. And I dwelt about everything that you're going to be doing here, which is like the first major part right here. I talked about the editors, talked about the console. You can access the console here, right, in all the major browsers, Safari, and all these ones. You can also master all of the shortcuts and all the other things that we can do. Now, in the next edition, next Friday, right, I'm going to be talking about the fundamental part of JavaScript. Like, I am going to be diving deep into the fundamentals, okay? Right? Variables, the different data types, the interactions, conversions of type, your basic operators, your comparisons, conditional branching with your if statement and your switch. You have your logical operators, your null coalescing operator, you have your while loops, your switch, your functions, your function expressions, arrow functions, whatever. Like, if you want to really understand the fundamentals of JavaScript, you don't want to miss the next one, right? You just don't want to miss the next stream, because I'm going to be diving deeper. We're going to be writing more code, less talking, and we're going to be diving straight into every little detail. And we're still going to be running our code with Quokka, or we're going to be running them inside the developer console, just for understanding's sake. So with that said, today, yes, I think I've been able to like, you know, I've been able to talk about the basics of JavaScript on today's call. That was my goal majorly, to talk about the major uh basics of JavaScript easily. Basics of JavaScript. I don't know if you've learned one or two thing. If anybody has learned one or two thing, all right. And for everybody who joined today's stream, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining the stream. I don't know how much I can thank you guys enough. I started with a very low energy, but I think right now I'm fired up, right? You can see like I'm fired up for real. And I mean, I enjoy this. I enjoy this, and this is what I do. So thank you for joining. And tomorrow, again, let me put it out there. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about introduction to React, like enough React that you need to know to write Next.js. That's what I'm going to be doing. Enough React to write Next.js. So it's just going to be introduction to Next.js tomorrow with React in view, right? How to just write React, create components, create all these little details right here and here in Next.js. That's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. Same time, just 9 p.m. West African time. If you're in other time zones, I think the instant time is around 3 p.m. And I'm just going to be doing React. I'm super stoked about React. React is like the beautiful framework. It's a very interesting framework for you to really know and learn about. So yeah, we can always learn one or two things. For those who are experienced writing React, and for those who are not even experienced, right, you can always learn one or two things, right? So thank you guys for joining the stream. See you guys tomorrow. I'll be talking more again about just React. So we're going to be writing code a lot using um JavaScript to write React for anybody who wants to join tomorrow's call. It's going to be basic, it's going to be from the beginner side of thing, right? Before we go into dive deeper into the full advanced part of what your React JS. So I hope to cover all the basics. I'm not going to be diving deeper into deeper things, but I'm just going to be showing you little information that is enough for you to be able to um write React. So thank you again one more time for joining. I don't know if anybody has any question. If you have any question, I'm going to hang around for a while to answer questions. And if there is no questions, we can always call it a day. Thank you for your time. I think I spent around 80 minutes thereabouts talking about just introduction to JS, all the stuff that you need to know. So somebody said we should talk about date time. So I'll find the T where we're going to talk about the date time APIs. And there's another new API for date time as well that I love to show you guys. It's called Temporal. So the Temporal is a new API for working with dates in JavaScript. So trust me, I am going to just be telling you, I'm going to overload you with informations. I'm here to overload you with informations. Like I am here to just give it to you, like a lot of informations, all the new things coming into JS ecosystem. I'm just going to be showing you how the new temporal API works. I would do some recording this weekend that I can upload that you can always have access to on the YouTube channel, right? Which is not going to be a live stream like this, but some recordings that you can always watch around, I think, around generators, around date time, JSON, JavaScript object notation. I mean, there are a lot of things running in my head that I want to quickly talk about. So I hope that this stream today was interesting to you and it was helpful. Thank you for joining, and bye for now.